just the challenges Michigan State poses. It's
Right.
typically
Obviously,
pretty much the same. Keep him in a transition and be tougher, right?
Yeah, he's done a really good job with him. They have a tough group. They have good on-ball defenders. They have good size on the front line. Very competitive. Very good defensive team. Do a good job of like driving the basketball. But yeah, keeping him off the glass, keeping him out of transition is one of those things that's it's easy to know. That's what you have to do, but it's hard to do. And it's going to be a challenge for us to do a better job guarding the basketball. So we're not living in help. Like, you can be in help, but when they take tough shots and we overhelp, we don't have great rebound balance. I think that's going to be an important part of the game, is getting back and getting our defense set. And we're going to be in some rotations, just like anybody's going to be in rotations when they help. But it just can't be extreme, because when it's extreme, now them getting a shot up, they're going to make some of them, but then they're going to get them back, and they're one of the best, rebounding teams in the country.
We've got 10 guys, I think, averaging 5 points or better.
Right.
How challenging is that on a scouting report where they don't have a lot of guys that go out and score 25? But
yeah, they only play 5 at a time, though. So like when it gets to that point, like you just have to understand. It is a good question, because more than anything, like, you can lock in on some people. Like when you play us, you can lock in on us and know, like, whatever. And we kind of like that, because then, like, now, you're going to open up some things for some other guys to get some open looks, hopefully. But you don't know. Like Jackson Cole the other night, like, he was their best player. Like, and he does a lot of little things for him. He's tough, he rebounds, he scores around the rim. But he might get 4 against us, he might get 8 against us, he might get 18 against us. Like, but you're going to get a big time effort from them, and that's what from each one of those guys. Like, you're going to get a big time effort. Like, you can tell they're much better collectively in terms of competing and executing what he wants than they were the previous year. There's a better team. I don't, like, you take individual pieces and talk all you want, but this is a team sport, and they're really good. He's done a great job with it.
Statistically, it feels like the defensive rebounding has gotten better as the season's gone on, but that can sometimes be, matchup dependent as far as who can exploit it the best. So,
right.
I guess just what's your feeling right now from a defensive rebounding standpoint? How much does tomorrow night potentially?
Yeah, and that's. I mean, when did you guys start asking a whole bunch of good questions? It's a really
season 4.
Yeah, there you go. It's a really good question, because styles are, like, they will cause different problems, right? When people can spread you and everybody can shoot, versus 3 people can shoot, you can give help from 2 guys, especially if it's size. Because now for us, like, that's what we want. Like, we want to be able to keep the ball out of the paint. Everybody wants to keep the ball out of the paint, but we really want to keep the basketball out of the paint. Keep it out of the middle, keep it out of the paint, and then do a good job with that. But we have to be better on the basketball. We can't just get beat as bad as we got beat other night and expect to have positive results. Like, there has to be where we're giving resistance there, we're making them score over us. When people are constantly getting angles, that's where, like, a couple of those fouls on those drives, when you go back and you look at it and you're like, well, they're creating an angle, and now we've got people helping, and then we wedge them as they go down. They slip it on their own feet or whatever. Like, no, we hip checked them a little bit, and then their calls. But at the end of the day, how do we correct that? Don't let them get an angle shot in basketball, and that's what we got to do a better job of. We can't. When you play from behind, you're going to foul more, and when you play from behind, you're not going to have good rebound balance. So now, when they make those shots, obviously you're in trouble. But then when they miss those shots, you're in trouble too. Like, you have to be able to get people to miss, and then be able to go the other end. And that's something for us where we've been very efficient as a transition team, so we don't turn Wisconsin over and we don't stop Wisconsin, but we can't get in transition. So a big part of our offense got negated simply because we didn't do a good job guarding, or their offense was just simply better than our defense.
How do you kind of reconcile that, where the things you didn't do well are also the things Wisconsin does really well?
Right.
How do you not overreact to it?
Yeah, well, you learn from it. But when you go back and watch and say, hey, like, this is too much. Like, I told our guys the other day, like, if you got, like, Derrick Rose or John Wall or, dudes that are just, there's no way you can keep them in front of you. Mm-hmm. But it was like, their quick guys got bias, but all their guys got bias. And so like I'm with it, man. I got heavy feet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had to play with heavy feet. It's a hard deal, man. You got to be smart. You got to have angles. You got to know where your help is. You know, you just got to think it through. But I thought we had more concentration issues than we had physical issues. Like, it's like you got to have a defensive concentration about you where you concentrate and you're determined and then you know what's going on and you play somebody smart. Like, if you're a good shooter, I'm going to break your rhythm. I'm not going to let you shoot a shot in rhythm. And then if you do beat me, you're going to beat me to the baseline. You're not going to beat me to the middle. Like, it's no secret how we play. Like, but so like when you're just giving up the middle and you're just getting direct drives and now we're having fire sales, that's really hard. That's really hard on us. So we got to do a better job. And I wish it was one guy. I wish it was two guys. It was all of our guys. And we got to collectively do a better job.
A few weeks ago when we were talking about how your defense had been playing so much better, one of the buzz phrase was attention to detail. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Talking about. And now you're talking about concentration. Are those two different
It's the
things?
same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. Yeah, you're sitting there. It's like, you know, it's rereading a book, right? And you learn something the second time. And you're just like, why in the hell didn't you learn it the first time? Well, you did. But that's how the brain works. Sometimes you have to relearn things, and that's kind of where we are right now. But with all that being said, you don't want to take anything away from Wisconsin because they're a tough matchup. They've proven that. We're the 7th or 8th best efficient offensive team in the country, and they're one or the other. We keep going back and forth. So like, what gets lost is we were really good offensively in the game. That's what gets lost. Go look at our numbers. You know, you go 21 to 4 assist turnover ratio. You shoot a good percentage from three. Like we score 47 points. We make that last three that we took. We score 50 points in the second half. And we're up in halftime. Like you say, hey, we're going to get 50 here. We're up 1.5. Well, you're winning the game, right? You're at home. You're winning the game. No, sir. No, sir.
What kind of a chess match goes on in this latter portion of the season when personnel is more set in stone? And have you seen teams try different things?
Well, the thing that the chess match gets lost and the preparation is different is that you face a lot of these people for the first time. So like you get Wisconsin late for the first time, you get Michigan State late for the first time. Now the chess match comes in against Indiana because we both had some success and some failures against each other. And now how do you adjust to that as you go to UCLA for the first time? You know what I mean? The last game. Then you play Illinois the last game of the season for the first time. So those are like those one plays, and that's different. I don't know if you guys saw the analytical graphic that went out that Cobra did, whatever, and I'd already done it by hand just because I'm a loser. But like we have the fewest days to prep in any school in our league, and the second team that has the fewest days to prep is Michigan State, you know, in our league. So when you look at it and you see those prep days or whatever, it all, if you're playing everybody at the end the second time, I don't think, you know, physically, you know, you want more time to prep, but I don't think it bothers you as much in terms of schematically doing it. But when you're facing someone for the first time, yeah, I think it does. Like, and it's the same for both, but if you don't have as many days. So that's just one of those things, but it's, you fight like hell to get exposure. So you got to be careful, right? So like, you win the league back-to-back years. You have the most wins in the Big Ten for 10 years. Well, when they go up to pick the games for Peacock or for Big Ten Network or for CBS or what have you, Fox, FS1, whatever, you're probably getting picked a lot, right? You're probably getting some marquee matchups, and with that, it affects your travel and your prep and your things like that. Michigan State actually has it the worst to finish the season. They have a 2-day prep for 5 straight games. Very similar to our 6 and 16 that we had. They have it at the end, and here they are in a Big Ten race. So like that, you know, you're challenging their intestinal fortitude of players. You're like, hey man, like you've had a couple days rest here, you had this, like other day. We didn't practice yesterday. It's impossible, right? You can't go through those kind of wars and like come back and expect people to play at a really, really high level unless you give them that physical and mental break. But yet you got to prepare for your next opponent. It's a fine line. And so when you have competitive people that it means a lot too, you just, you know, you got to be great Tuesday at 7. You know, sometimes like you fight things and you do different things. You're like, man, we really had a good practice today. Well, good for you. Like, what's your record in practices? Like, you got to be able to have solid and good practices, but it's got to work up to hopefully maximizing how you play Tuesday at 7.
How do you kind of
meet and do a film or something, just not formally?
Right. Yeah. We walked through. We shot free throws, and we watched film of the Wisconsin game, and then we didn't watch any Michigan State yesterday just because I thought it was more important for us. And like today, we'll go through Michigan State. We'll go through more film, a little bit maybe tonight. I'm not sure. But definitely tomorrow.
how do you kind of square that if you're Purdue and Michigan State? Like, you've earned this to the point where Purdue and, the TV networks want Purdue and Michigan State
Right.
in certain time slots, but
Yeah.
it's almost like you're punished for success in a way with the turnarounds.
Yeah.
Is that hard to kind of grapple with as a coach?
Yeah, it is. The thing that you got to look at, in my opinion, is I think you got to fight for. We shouldn't have an advantage, but we definitely shouldn't have a disadvantage, right? Like that's like you can't say, hey, like other people have an advantage because they have more days to prep on average than you have days to prep on average. It does build up. I'd rather have good players than any of it. So don't lose that. I like our team. I like our players. That's more important than anything. And so I think that is always going to hold true. That having the best players, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a league standpoint because, like I said earlier, nobody should have an advantage, but nobody should have a disadvantage. And the people that get more days to rest and practice and prepare are going to have an advantage. But isn't enough an advantage to win? It's really hard to quantify, right? I'm struggling with my answer because it's hard to quantify. There's a lot of factors and variables that go in, and I can go down that rabbit hole, but you guys will be here until Wednesday listening to me.